I feel like a lot of people, and I was like extremely guilty of this, and you hear it all the times, like, I don't get paid enough to do that. You know, you work that $20 hour job, and you're like, all right, I'll give them $20 an hour worth of work. You know, but then you really want to make that $40, $50 an hour, but your boss has only seen you work at a $20 hour effort. How are they gonna ever give you that $50, $40?
Well, yeah, in that mindset, you don't deserve it. That goes with what we were saying of like working at the higher level.
Right.
If you're only putting in $20 an hour worth of work, why would they ever want to give you a raise?
Right.
Because they're paying you for exactly what they hired you for.
Right. So I feel like a lot of people's like, I'll do more work when I get paid more.
Yeah, it doesn't
right?
work
Everyone
like that.
always does that, but like, how are they gonna pay you more if you haven't shown that you can do more?
100%.
You know what I mean?
Easiest way to smash through everybody around you is to be the exception to that rule.
Right.
And that's like getting money, I'm on my thug again. Tryna stack a little dub, tryna catch a win. And next time I drop a coupe, it's gonna be a twin turbo. Always been a G, but I ain't never been a herb though. Way I'm switching lanes, and shit.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Millennial Mentality Podcast. We are here at In the Biz Inc. I am your host, Peter Price, with Papo Taco, and our guest back for the second time, Garrett Mitchell.
Great to be here.
Good to have you again, bro. I'm super stoked for this. I'm going to be completely honest with you, and I'm not like even blowing smoke when I say this. Our episode with you that we did back in September is one of my favorite episodes that we have. When I'm recommending the podcast to people, you are like one of those top 3 episodes that I tell people to watch because your story is so dope. You did a really good job explaining it. I think you're super relatable. And I don't know, bro. There's just something that is admirable about the way you've gone about your path. You know, it hasn't been easy, but you've always kind of just grinded through it. And I'm super excited to have you back for that reason, you know, and dive back into, you know, where your life's at now compared to 6 months ago. It's been super cool also getting to know you even closer for the last 6 or 7 months. Not just through, you know, communicating on Instagram, but you've come and gotten tatted a few times here at In the Biz.
That's right.
So yeah, man, it's been super cool getting to know you, and I'm excited for the conversation we're going to have today. I think it's going to be another good one.
Likewise, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, for those of you who haven't seen Garrett's first episode, please go back and watch it because this guy has an insane story, and it's just super admirable to see where you are today and how you overcame the things in your past. And I think the trials and tribulations that you've dealt with can be related to, for a lot of people that might be watching, you know, even if it's not on as an extreme scale or maybe on a more extreme scale, depending on everyone's circumstance. I think it was really cool for you to come on and be vulnerable and share that with us because it was a powerful story. So if you haven't watched that, please go back. It was an episode back in September, and in my opinion, it's one of our best episodes. So again, I'm excited to have you back and do this. So for those who don't know, though, you know, present day Garrett, you're the owner of a company called Rocket Flood.
Yes, sir.
And you were touching on that last time you were here, and you were about to make some big moves. It was like right before you were about to go to Vegas and present, you know, like a new feature or new product or something like that. You kept it kind of hush because I think you were saving it for the presentation. But how'd that end up working out for you?
Yeah, it was wild, man. It's been a really great it's been 6 months now. We were just talking in the office yesterday about how time has flown since September. But we went to ITC. It's the biggest insurance event of the year. InsurTech is basically the niche of how technology is penetrating the insurance market to basically change the way insurance is transacted and just change everything. It's really like the future of where insurance is trending. So it was a great event to be a part of because it was a huge event. It was a Vegas scale type of an event with all the biggest companies in the world and representation, and it went really well. So yeah, we kind of like unveiled what we had been working on for over a year, and since then it really has been exploding, man. So essentially when people ask me what is Rocket Flood, we're an InsurTech flood insurance agency, and essentially we're like the Travelocity of flood insurance. So you would go, just type your address on our website, answer a couple questions, and in less than a minute, you're getting flood insurance quotes from every provider in the market. So we're giving, like, in some cases, up to 30 different options to a consumer, which is more than any other agency in the country can offer, especially point of sale just on their website. So it's been, since we launched the new platform, it's really just been like enabled a lot of growth. So it's been growing.
And is that the feature that you were presenting in Vegas at that time?
That was the main one. So basically, we were launching like our marketplace experience, to where the marketplace meaning an experience where a consumer could go on, give us their info, and at the end, not just get a message that says, hey, we'll be in touch with quotes, but see like all the quotes right then and there,
right,
and have them at their fingertips. So that's what we launched, and since then we've added roughly 6 additional carriers to that. So now there's even more options.
Right.
And just to like paint the picture, right? We everyone in insurance kind of stumbles into insurance. No one really sets their career out and says, I want to get into insurance. Okay?
Yeah.
In full transparency, I don't even like insurance. Okay? But it's where I landed, and our like what we're all about is just becoming the best at whatever we're doing. And that really has been what's fueling this whole thing. So we saw a gap in the marketplace. Essentially, like every good business story, we saw a problem, and we were able to build a solution, like a real solution to like a legitimate gap. And that's been the foundation that we've been building on. So flood insurance is a niche product. Just to give a quick overview, it's a separate policy that's not covered under your homeowner's policy. And there's a lot of disconnect and misinformation when it comes to flood insurance. So in general, it's not like one of those household products like home or auto. So insurance agents aren't good at it. They're not super familiar with it. And unless you're in this niche group of like specialists, you're average at best when it comes to flood insurance. You're really only selling it when somebody asks you for it. At that point, you're scrambling, seeing what options you have and seeing what you can come up with for the customer. So as I started to get into this, I just started to realize how much of a gap there was. And I was like, all right, not for nothing, we can honestly become the best in the world at this niche product. And it's not even like bragging that much, because honestly, everyone's just so average at it that we don't even really have to be that good. So the first thing I identified is, okay, I've learned a lot. I was in insurance for 10 years, and I was like, essentially, no one likes insurance at all, and it's always a pain in the ass whenever it comes up. You either have to use it in a claim, or you're either looking at your bill and you're pissed off that you have to pay this bill, okay? So you want the cheapest policy that you can get that's going to satisfy the needs you're looking to accomplish, right?
Right.
So you're looking for the cheapest policy. So I was like, okay, one quick and easy way we could just differentiate ourselves is we can always be the cheapest. Well, how are we going to be the cheapest? We need to basically represent everybody. So if we go and really just make sure we find out every single insurance company that offers flood, we identify them, and we contract with them. So step 1, represent every single carrier in the marketplace. Now, if I have every single option that there possibly is on a particular property, then I'm going to have the best option. And at that point, it's just a matter of creating an efficient way to quote all these options to quickly identify and provide that lowest option. So step 1, this is back around 2018, 2019, was acquire the companies. So I was contacting every single flood insurance company in the country, and I was getting them what's called an appointment, so Rocket Flood could represent them.
Okay.
Then we started to see we were winning cases. We had lower rates than everybody, and we were like, all right, step 1 is kind of aligning, but we had now all these 12 companies, and we had no way to efficiently, it was taking like an hour to quote all these companies. And if we wanted to scale, every time we had a quote request, it was taking us an hour just to be able, at best, to perform the quotes.
Because someone was doing it manually?
Yeah, manually.
Oh, okay. So there's someone having to hit up each company and figure out the price for each one.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if one of my foundational pillars was we always want to give the lowest rate to the consumer, they literally had to go through and go into 15 different websites and type the same information in over and over.
Right.
Now, there's mainstream products that solve this problem for bigger products like home and auto and life insurance. But when it came to flood, because it was a niche product and it wasn't really that much attention on it yet, there was no out-of-the-box solution.
Yeah.
So we reached out to a couple technology providers and we said, hey, this is what we're looking to do. Would you want to partner on this and do it? And they all turned us down. They said, no, it's not in their pipeline, or it's not, they need to work on other things. So I basically looked at the situation and I was like, all right, like, we're just going to build it ourselves then. And it was really the best thing that ever happened to us by everyone saying no to us. Because, and not to take a sidestep, but I just want to talk about the importance real quick of stacking small wins along your journey to build your confidence, because you never know when this big opportunity is going to come up. And to be honest with you, I had zero business even trying to do this. I don't have a technology background. So, but it had just so happened to happen at a time where I was stacking a lot of wins in my career and in the gym. I was getting back into shape, and I was just at a point where I felt like I could take on anything. And this shit happened on a day, and I just looked at my partners and I was like, bro, I can do this. Like, we're just gonna, and I just had so much blind confidence that I just ran into this challenge. And through this journey of figuring out what it takes to like build a technology company, we came across so many problems and we learned so much, and we built this technology to literally solve this problem that didn't exist. And now we're one of the only ones in the industry that has the ability. We built a comparative rater for flood insurance, and this whole flood insurance sales system, that's just our intellectual property now. And now we have this engine that you just type the address in and it's quoting 30 different flood companies. And we're able to give that quote to them in 60 seconds when our competitors are scrambling to hand type this info. So by the time they've even turned the quote around and we've already delivered the quote, our quote is lower and it's been given to them instantly while they're at their computer before the other agent can even start working on it, let alone give them a quote. And so fast forward now, we took this technology and we looked around. Because it didn't exist, we had to make a decision. Okay, we could just keep leveraging this tech stack to just keep putting more and more distance between us and the competitors, or we can now license this technology so that agents across the country could pay us to utilize it.
Right.
And so we launched that January 1st, Rocket MGA, and that's really been growing tremendously too. We have 150 agents on the platform now, but we're signing up like 10 a week.
Wow.
So it's just all about the things that can just unfold, but if you're ready to meet that challenge that comes at that moment.
Sure. So now, not only are you doing direct to consumer quotes, but other agents who are, providing flood insurance across the nation can utilize the technology that you created to quote their customers also.
Exactly. And what we did was we really just built a full flood insurance solution for these agents. So we're providing two major solutions to them. We're providing the technology, but we're also providing the carriers to them. So what happens is when you sign on with Rocket, we're a middleman to this product suite of different flood insurance companies. And so with one appointment with Rocket MGA, we're contracting you with 11 different flood insurance companies that are going to give back 16 different options. So the two major problems that I set out to solve, I wanted to have all the companies so I could have the best rate, and I wanted to be able to get it into the consumer's hand fast and easy. We're now giving those same solutions. And so the nice part is when they sign on with us and we appoint them with these companies, we make a small override on all the business that they write, and they pay us a monthly fee to access the technology.
Yeah. That's genius, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
So this is actually a question that Kevin was talking about before you showed up today, and sorry to take your question, Kevin, but I feel like it's the right time for it. And you sort of touched on it a little bit. You don't even love insurance necessarily. Like, you wouldn't say insurance is something you're passionate about.
I'm just passionate about being the best in the world at whatever I'm doing. And it just so happened that I landed in insurance to the point where I had a solid team around me. Like, I had mentors that I trusted and that I was learning from in my 20s when I started my career in insurance. And that was just bonds that were built. And then it got to the point where I was deep in the insurance field and I had learned so much And people were I was realizing that I was getting really good at this, not because it was like I liked it or anything, just because it was what I was doing. So, no, to answer your question, we don't really like insurance at all. We just like
being the best.
At what we're doing, and then making money, providing value.
Yeah. Scoot your chair forward. Like, I think your mic is pitched perfect in the angle-wise. I just want to make sure you're close enough. Okay, so no, I mean, I think that's a perfect answer, and something that, you know, you might have some insight on would be, like, for the average person watching who, you know, is in their job. I was even an example of this, you know? Like, in the restaurant business, I think that I was pretty good at what I did, you know? I had a lot of experience. I was good with the customers. I was good at cutting margins. I was good handling employees. I think I was good in the restaurant business, and there was a time when I was passionate about it. And I think a lot of people could be in the same boat in whatever industry they're in, where they might be really good at what they do. But if they find that they aren't passionate about it, I feel like a lot of the motivational reels you see on Instagram and TikTok these days is like, you need to have passion behind what you do. So how do you stay motivated in a job where you may not be passionate about the subject?
All right, this is a really good question. So I'm passionate about what we're doing on a daily basis, and I'm absolutely obsessed with becoming the best in the world at flood insurance and dominating my industry and my niche. So I've found passion in what I'm doing, but not in the subject itself. Now, one big turning point for me, before I knew I was going to put both feet into insurance and really run with this, was I realized, okay, there's 24 hours in a day, and I don't know if I want to do insurance for the rest of my life, but I want to make more money right now. So I feel like we go through chapters of our life, and while I feel like purpose is very important, all right? But you don't have to be working on your life's purpose to be living your life with passion.
Yeah.
And you can have a specific purpose to a chapter of your life that you're living. At one point, I was waiting tables, and if you look at somebody that's maybe an author or an actor in New York City, you can still carry yourself with purpose and passion because you know you're working towards your goals, and you're going to carry yourself at a high level in whatever you're doing. And so what happened was I reached a point where I was not necessarily sold on insurance or thinking I was working in my life's purpose, but I said to myself, this chapter of my life now, it was kind of graduating from just like caring mostly about athletics and stuff to I need to make more money. And I am going to dedicate this chapter of my life to like locking in to my job right now and becoming the best that I possibly fucking can at it so I can earn more money.
Right.
And so discipline is going to take you way further than motivation. And a lot of times people are just grasping at motivation and putting way too much value on it. So, and then at the second that motivation is not there,
It takes all the wind out of their sails.
The follow through isn't either.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it was actually a
good.
great thing to build my discipline and my drive in what I was doing for the simple, and it's okay. Like if your goal is just to make more money, get really fucking good at whatever you're doing in that chapter to make more money. And another key thing that's kind of like a side point on this is a lot of people think they're just going to show up when they're finally working in their purpose or they're finally working on the thing that makes them passionate.
Yeah.
Okay? Instead of just learning the discipline and building the character to show up in any situation and then be ready for that moment when you actually are aligned with your purpose. But I guess what I'm really trying to say is how you do, like, all right, I have this saying, it's not my saying, but it's a popular saying amongst my friends, is how you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
I really love that one because it's like people think they're just gonna like, oh, I don't like, they're working at a job that they don't want or they don't like.
Yeah.
And so they just fuck off at the job.
Right.
Okay. When really you should be extracting every ounce of opportunity and value out of that situation and looking to build as much skills as you possibly can when you're in that environment. And then as soon as it hits 5, start working on your resume or working on improving your situation. But if you're gotta be there and you have to be there to make the money, you might as well maximize the opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I started doing. And as I started making more money, it was like nice to see those returns on that stuff. And
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, that it worked. And then really you just built off that. But like I really like what Alex Hormozzi says about this because he talks about just the dilemma of people feeling so trapped because I'm not in my passion. I'm not in my passion. So like I don't want to do it or anything. But really it was such a blessing that like to learn how to be successful when I wasn't in my passion. But because before I was a business owner, I really didn't feel this passion that I'm feeling right now. I just knew I had a fucking goal that I wanted to make more money. So I started working towards that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something that, like, even social media nowadays, I think gets people, I don't know if the word is confused or anxious about not being at the end goal at whatever age they're at. And you see it at every range of the spectrum of ages. You know, I think there's 21-year-olds now who feel like their life is closing in and because they don't have the career that they want to have. But they're so fucking young, you know? And I think, like, you know, a word that you kept using was, like, this chapter is kind of an important way to look at life sometimes where you may not be at that end goal yet, you know, or you might not be doing the thing that you want to be doing for the rest of your life, but it doesn't mean what you're doing right now isn't the building blocks to get you to where you eventually want that end goal to be. And again, to use myself as an example, for 8 years, I spent 6 days a week in a restaurant, 12-hour shifts every day, sort of miserable most of the time. You know, when I was young and first getting started managing and stuff, I was a really young manager, so it did fire me up a little bit that I was like a young guy having, you know, this ability to make such a big difference in a place that was doing really well. But you get burnt out really fast working those hours with little reward. You know, I'm on a salary, so it's not like the harder I work, the more money I made. But also the harder I worked, the more I learned about the back end of the business, the more responsibility I was given. And I mean, without that 8 years of my life, I don't have the career that I have now. And there's no doubt in my mind about that because I spent every day shaking customers' hands and introducing myself and making a reputation for myself around town. And then also doing the work and putting in the effort, it made me disciplined. You know, having to show up and put in those hours helped build that discipline and accountability. And so now, when it came time that I found my passion, which was, you know, is tattooing, and I love what I do now, I'm super grateful for it. But I wouldn't have been able to build this business the way I did if I hadn't made those relationships for the last 8 years in the restaurant. And who knows if I would have the discipline or accountability to manage my finances and be able to keep all this afloat, you know, if I didn't get to basically practice with someone else's business and money for the last 8 years, you know, which is the way that I put it in my head. You know, maybe I'm not building my own business right now, so I'm not super stoked, but I'm looking at it as practice. You know, I didn't go to college and get the regular education everyone else did. Kachino was my college. I got to practice in the field, you know, and get the experience firsthand. And when the time came, I just had my eyes open the whole time to the next opportunity. You know, not like 1 foot out the door type shit, but also, if this isn't my end goal, I'm going to stay focused on working hard right now, but keep my eyes open for what that next move is. And when it came, all that time and effort that I put in, which I knew wasn't my passion or my future, paid off because it gave me the opportunity I have now. So I think too many people get caught up in, especially like in their 20s, you know, like when you're 20, in your whole range of 20s, that's still super young, you know, you still have a lot of life to live. And I think sometimes social media can get people caught up in, you know, seeing someone their age doing really well, or at least that's the facade they're putting on Instagram, and it makes you feel bad that you're not in that position yet, you know. But really, every chapter of your life is sort of a stepping stone to get you to that end goal that you want to have, as long as you're treating those chapters the right way. But like you said, if you're just showing up and expecting something to fall in your lap, more often than not, it doesn't work that way. You got to put in the work.
100%. And there's two things that came to mind as you were talking. So for one, yeah, we could go on and on about social media and just the pitfalls, especially to young people. It's a huge challenge to navigate. You're seeing everyone's highlight reels, embellished highlight reels, and then on top of that, with the celebrities or the viral people, you're seeing the extreme outliers and the extreme exceptions. This is not the norm, okay? And one thing that I always ask a young person or anybody that I meet that may be thinking that is struggling with something that's fueled by this, of feeling like, but all these other people are happening so fast or whatever, I say, okay, look at your life and look at the most successful people. Pick 3 successful people, like real successful people that you know, whether it's family, friends, friends of yours, people that you've just met in business that you actually have a rapport with, and think about their story. Were any of those people get rich quick, or that one hit type of a thing that we see on Instagram or social media? Probably not. I can look at my life and tell you that none of the most successful people, it was all done with hard work over an extended period of time and taking risks and just doing it organically. So it's not real life, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like that you use the term highlight reel, because that's like something we talk about a lot with Instagram, and I think, or social media in general. You know, people sometimes forget that what you're seeing someone post, more often than not, is just what they want you to see, but that doesn't mean there aren't, you know, struggles every day and things that are fucked up behind the scenes. And
It's
sometimes
just
that
crazy.
gets people in their head thinking, you know, why do I have to deal with these things but other people don't? And I think the truth is a lot of us deal with the same problems.
I think everyone does, man. Another thing that I wanted to touch on with your point, all right, I see this with a lot with young people. A lot of this younger, and I'm going to say, like, I was the same way along my journey of maturing. I was this person too. So I'm not really one to talk about like an up-and-coming generation, like talk down on them or whatever.
Sure.
But a lot of people want that level 10 opportunity or level 9 opportunity with a level 2 to 3 skill set, okay? And they want the opportunity, but they haven't developed the skill set commensurate to that opportunity. And when I look back at my life at the biggest, like, exponential gains that I've experienced in my progress as a person and professionally, it happened by I built up my skills to the point where my skill set outweighed the opportunity that I was currently operating in, okay? And I just kept building my skills, brought more and more and more value to any organization that I was in all these different categories, and all of a sudden now it was like, make it painfully obvious to everybody. Yo, this guy is like way exceeded. Overqualified now for the situation that he's in. And then all of a sudden you focus on building your skills like you did at Kachina, and then all of a sudden life will meet you at where you are, okay? And when your skill set, when your opportunity meets your skill set and multiplies, you're gonna have a much higher output. And on the flip side, if you're looking at if you've hit like a plateau, or you're evaluating your business and you're not making a certain amount of, you're not reaching certain new levels in your business and stuff, you need to ask yourself a real question. Am I operating in an opportunity that can provide those type of results?
Right.
And a lot of times when you look at people that are super, super talented, but their business just isn't providing or isn't hitting the levels that maybe you think, or their lifestyle or whatever, is because they've built up a level 10 skill set, but they're still operating in like a level 3 opportunity. So there's limited maximum output that can be gained through that. And that was one of the reasons why we went with the MGA route, is because when we were looking at our opportunity, we could build $100 million agency on the retail side, but we ran some calculations, and if we leveraged the production of 5,000 agents, it was gonna, in like 2 years, it was gonna blow past what we were making on the retail side.
Yeah.
It was just a much bigger opportunity using leverage. So that's just another point. But you never get to that level. A lot of people, they only see the results of that high level opportunity on social media.
Right.
But you have to go through the process of building those skills up so you're even ready for the opportunity when it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say someone maybe doesn't own their own business, but they're working for a company, and they can look themselves in the mirror and honestly say they've been building their skill set. They've been with this company for, maybe years, and putting in the work, putting in the effort, building the skill set, and they feel like they're exceeding their peers, everyone else around them that has the same position they do. At what point do you think you have to know your worth and maybe identify that this place that I'm at isn't the right opportunity because it's not rewarding enough based on the effort I'm putting in? But also, then there's the fear of maybe my, promotion or my raise is right around the corner and I don't want to jump too soon. How do you handle a situation like that?
So 99% of the time, an employer isn't going to proactively initiate a raise. I'd like to think I'm one of the exceptions to that, but in general, you're going to have to initiate advancement, okay? And if you've really done those things and exceeded your, all right, one of the items on this list that we're going to jump into is become invaluable. If you bring so much value to the table that the situation literally can't lose you, or they're going to take a major step back, they're going to do what it takes to keep you.
Yeah, you've got leverage.
Yeah, you have leverage. So the more value you bring, the more leverage you create for yourself. Yeah. So essentially what I would say is you need to initiate that performance review, and you need to ask for things. So it's one of the things I had to learn from experience is that you really don't get what you deserve. You truly do get what you negotiate for. And
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
It truly is. And a lot of times they also can't read your mind,
right?
Your employer. So if there's lack of communication, that's always a stepping stone to a poor relationship. So I would definitely say the steps would be to prepare for the meeting, be organized with background research and some organization in terms of what additional responsibilities you've brought on, metrics that you've exceeded, things like that. Right. You set the performance review, and then ask, if you have a certain number in mind, ask for that. Don't just say, I want a raise. Ask for a specific amount, and have that supported by, industry standard in research that you've done. And I'll tell you one thing, I've never said no to one where an employee was bringing me value.
Yeah, if they came prepared for that meeting and could justify what they were asking for, what sense does it make?
And if they're doing a good job.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you want them. There's a huge value to longevity with an employee. And so it's really just initiating it, because if you keep thinking, if you're waiting around for it to happen, it probably never will.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like a lot of people, and I was extremely guilty of this, and you hear it all the times, I don't get paid enough to do that. You work that $20 hour job, and you're like, all right, I'll give them $20 an hour worth of work, But then you really want to make that $40, $50 an hour, but your boss has only seen you work at a $20 hour effort. How are they going to ever give you that $50, $40
Well, yeah,
an hour
in that mindset,
effort?
you don't deserve it. That goes with what we were saying of working at the higher level.
Right.
If you're only putting in $20 an hour worth of work, why would they ever want to give you a raise?
Right.
Because they're paying you for exactly what they hired you for.
Right. So I feel like a lot of people's I'll do more work when I get paid more.
Yeah, it doesn't work
Everyone
like that.
always does that. But how are they going to pay you more if you haven't shown that you can do more?
100%.
You know what I
The
mean?
easiest way to smash through everybody around you is to be the exception to that rule.
Right.
And that was exactly how I did it. And I got my ownership opportunities, and I got all these things, is because I never looked at it like that. Or as soon as I just switched my mind to a certain point around 2017, maybe slightly before that, it was so easy. It's honestly so easy to level up on everyone around you by just focusing on that and exceeding that.
Yeah.
We're in a bare minimum society, and we're going to dive into some of this stuff.
Yeah.
We're literally in such a bare minimum culture, and I don't get paid enough is the biggest blessing to any go-getter, high achiever, because that is going to be the standard of evaluation throughout a company.
Right.
And it doesn't take a lot to just far exceed that.
Right.
And so I have certain employees that are like that clock out right at 5, and I have other employees that are literally just looking for any opportunity to bring value. And it's so black and white in terms of who gets the opportunities when they come.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, just to summarize, like, it's really not difficult either. You know what I mean?
It really isn't.
Yeah, because it goes back to that point, like, we're there for 8 hours. We have to be there, okay? You might as well maximize the opportunity by bringing the most value you possibly can and by gaining the most amount of skills. And the thing that people don't understand is every single day on the job is your interview for that promotion.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, and they're like, as an employer now, I'm watching everybody on a daily basis, and I'm already thinking in my mind for these next opportunities that we're rolling out and stuff, who is the best fit for it. And the idea is always to promote from within. So the fact that you're at the company, you have an opportunity every day to just outshine everybody just by taking that initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That was a good point, Kev. Good. I like that you brought that up. That's
I
good.
mean, I was guilty of it.
I think
A lot of y'all were, man. I
know?
really think we all were. It's really a part of growing up.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so last time we had you on, something that we talked about was the 6 a.m. check-in, which I'll kind of let you explain because you might do a better job, but it was a phone call with a mentor or someone that you knew that they were doing at 6 a.m. every morning and just kind of chopping it up or giving advice. So, I mean, kind of tell us again what that 6 a.m. check-in is about.
Yeah, absolutely. So my brother Dak, David Caldwell at the the OG network, he just launched, he posted something that he was going to be doing a 6 a.m. check-in, all right? We grew up together. He was 1 year older than me, and he was just always like, he stood for all the things that I stood for, that I was trying to stand for. Like, he made it to the NFL off being sturdy. Like, bottom line, was not the most talented. Everyone said you were never going to make it to even have a college career. And he made it to the NFL and made a splash in the NFL just strictly off of staying sturdy. And so anyway, he posted something, he was going to do a check-in. I figured it was going to be a lot of people that were joining because this was an opportunity to like have this exposure with Dak and everything. And when I basically jumped on the first day, there was one other person. And by the end of the week, it was just him and I. Mm-hmm. And so we locked in for a month. We decided to run it back for a second month. And we were just basically just sharing game every day, just talking about different rules, different stories, different lessons we learned on what we've learned so far it takes to be successful and things that could help us level up to the next level. And so eventually, after we rocked out for a couple months, we decided just to team up, and that's when we made the Sturdy OG 6 a.m. check-in.
Yeah.
We launched the Sturdy OG 6 a.m. check-in, and we basically ran it solid for a year.
Okay.
Every day, Monday through Friday, we linked up for 15 to 20 minutes. And over the course of time, we built this community of people that became really close. We were connecting with each other every single morning, Monday through Friday.
Through the phone?
Yeah, we
Just
had
a
a
phone
Zoom
call?
call. It was
Zoom
a Zoom
call?
call. So
Okay.
we were like, the majority of us were on video. I would take the majority of the calls from the gym. And we really started building this group of friends and community of these amazing like-minded people that all came from different walks of life, different views on so many different things, but we shared this core like meaning of like wanting to be the best versions of ourselves and really wanting to level up as fast as we could.
Right.
And it was a great group of people that locked in. And over the course of this year, it was like everyone, it started out Dak and I sharing, and we were still like the leaders on it, but everybody had a forum. And anything that happened in your life, if you learned something through something that you were going through at work or with family or any sort of life experience that you learned a valuable lesson, you could share that with the group. Or just any like core foundational principles that you were taught from mentors or parents that are, you know, pivotal in who you've become or attribute to the success that you've achieved. We shared it and just shared the resources. And so what we're going to dive into today on the last day of the check-in. Now, the check-in's going to continue. We're moving the check-in on to the OG platform that's launching any month now. We're just putting the finishing touches on the website. And we're going to have, basically, real quick, just to take a quick step back. So the OG network is going to be a fire platform. It's going to be a marketplace platform for subscriber members to access information on a bunch of different things. We're going to be having complete fitness programs on there. We're going to be having sales programs. We're going to have classes that are going to have set curriculums. We're going to have the 6 a.m. check-in back hosted on there, and just basically a wealth of resources to help you reach your maximum potential.
Yeah.
And so when that launches, 6 a.m. check-in is going to be back live on that platform, and all of the subscriber members are going to get access, full access to all the programs on there. So we're going to have everything from like mobility and joint health and movement, just basic movement stuff, to different programs. We're going to have a running program. We're going to have a hybrid program. We're going to have a bunch of different health and wellness stuff and different business classes on there, so it's gonna be really fire.
Yeah, dope.
Yeah.
You don't have like an exact date for that yet, but it's coming soon?
Very soon.
All right, we'll put the links in the socials in the bio so everyone can peep that and stay tuned for it, because I'm sure it's gonna be value beyond its cost. When it comes to the 6 a.m. check-in, is that something that is monetized, or that's something that you guys do for the love of it?
Honestly, we just did it to, we were really only planning on doing it for a month.
Yeah.
We did it for a month, and it was honestly had so much traction, and there was so much, the group bonded so much that it really just made sense to continue it. Yeah. And to be honest with you, it came at such a pivotal time for me, and everyone that was consistent with the group, like literally leveled up every single area of their life.
Yeah.
Members of the group are like, we have some of the most like fire members, like honestly, like awesome. We have everything from female CEOs, amazing moms, entrepreneurs, executives, young college kids trying to make it to the military, just like a diverse group of people that came together. It was just, all we shared was we wanted to be the best. We knew that there were levels above that we could reach, and we were all just helping each other do that. So there was really no monetizing on that. It was all free. Building out proof of concept, and also building our network, and honestly, it just became so dope with the people that were showing up and involved in it. We just decided to just push off the monetization.
Yeah. So that's when the OG network launches. Will the 6 a.m. call still be something people can do for free, or is that part of the membership? No,
this is now part of the membership. Yeah, but honestly, it's one of those things that, like you mentioned, it's gonna be the type of thing, like, it's gonna be so much value. Like, the value that you're gonna get is gonna so drastically far exceed the cost, and there's gonna be no like commitments. So you can cancel at any time, honestly. Sure. And the price point when we launch, especially for like the first couple months, you're going to have an opportunity to get in at a price that is going to be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what the price would be, or a range?
No,
or is
we're
it like
not,
a monthly.
Yeah, it's monthly. Okay. We'll launch it. We'll make sure to tag the podcast when we launch
100%. We'll put it out there.
100%.
Cool. Yeah. Well, the reason I wanted to bring that up especially is because you sent me something, these principles of leadership, which is a list that you said you guys dropped on that last 6 a.m. check-in.
Yeah.
What is up? Thank you guys for watching, listening, viewing, and subscribing. If you've made it this far into the video, which I hope you have, I want to thank you for watching. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, Garrett is one of my favorite guests that we've had. Back in that episode that we recorded in September, I think is one of our best episodes that we've ever recorded. And this one is going to be right up there with that. There was so much knowledge and value dropped in this recording. We ended up going for like 2 hours or so. So I'm going to end up cutting it off here and splitting this into 2 parts. So you'll see part 2 next Wednesday. But I think, even in this part 1, there was a lot of really good conversations had and a lot of good points made and, just relatable topics that I think everyone can kind of tap in with. But we are going to split it up into 2 parts. Next week, we're tackling the principles of leadership, which is something that Garrett brought to us and something that he talked to with his group on that 6 a.m. check-in that we were just touching on before this. And that was just such a concentrated conversation of like knowledge and value and just great points on his part of how to level up and get ahead and fucking win and be successful. And so I didn't want that to get diluted or overlooked by stretching this out into a 2-hour episode and people kind of, zoning out halfway through the episode and not, absorbing all the good stuff that he had to say towards the tail end. So for that reason, I'm splitting it up into 2 parts. I hope you enjoyed part 1. Part 2 is even more powerful than this was, so make sure you don't miss it. We're going to upload it on Wednesday of next week. If you haven't noticed already, we've switched our upload schedule from Mondays to Wednesdays because we've also had to change our recording schedule. So it just gives me enough time to edit and get everything ready for you guys by Wednesday. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in. Stay tuned for part 2 next Wednesday with Garrett Mitchell. Definitely don't miss it, especially if you enjoyed this part 1, because part 2 is even more powerful. And I appreciate you guys for fucking with us. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Peace.
That's like getting money, I'm on my thug again. Tryna stack a little dub, tryna catch a win. And next time I drop a coupe, it's gonna be a twin turbo. Always been a G when I ain't never been a herb though. Way I'm switching lanes.